Good afternoon. It is October 20th, 2021, and today we were looking at really just a range day because we hit this measured move, and you can see we're just going sideways and it's been it's been pretty slow the past few days, I would say. You can see here when we had this strong sell-off, prices really came down. They tested that overnight high, and they bounced. So I think you could have gotten in on this, and I think you could have gotten in on this as well. Well, you could have gotten in on this as well. So we just had a failed second entry long set up just now. But other than that, I think I have everything marked in here. Everything that you can take, I think I have marked. We'll see. I'm pretty sure this is not the failure. I don't think this breaks lower. We'll see, though. So when we started off at the in the overnight, we didn't really. 5 o'clock came. Sorry, 5 o'clock came. I think like somewhere around here, and this is just way too congested to be entering. And anyone who's been doing this for a couple months could probably tell you that. Forgot about this. I think this was a move down. This is just super congestive here. So you shouldn't be entering any of this. When we break out, I went short, like thinking first entry. I don't know. I don't know. But this is just too congested. When we break out, we form some congestion at the overnight highs, and that was prices trying to go lower, but they couldn't. This is too congestive as well, though this kind of looks like a second entry long, kind of, but that's a double top. So here we get a first entry, second entry, but look how far that is from the EMA and the trend line. So I got trapped. This was stupid. Well, I'll talk about that later, but this looks like one leg of correction and two legs of correction. And for that reason, I think you can go long here. It's also a first failed second entry, but this is too congestive to be looking at failures. But you can tell that a lot of trapped shorts here. And we get a break. Well, that's a break. Move to a new high. First entry. Second entry. This is aggressive. It's not off any trend line, and it looks like we're working down here, so I don't really see much of a reason you could go long. If this bar ticked lower, then you could go long above that bar, but it didn't. And yeah, so these are matching lows. So yeah, the failure doesn't come here. Failure comes right here. And since we're making a strong move up, you might go long on that, especially if you see that it's off the midline. But other than that, it's aggressive, and we're close to that measured move, so. But anyway, you come down here, and you get a first entry, second entry off of that trend line, but that's not the low of the swing, and that's pretty far from the EMA. And we've been away from the EMA for like at 45 minutes at that point, 30 minutes, so you're expecting a pullback. And even on the pullback, you see here, I don't think that gets you 4 ticks. 30, 50. Yeah, that gets you 2 ticks. So this fails and this fails. And I think how you could have stayed out of that is just look at this measured move and look at how congested this is. That's definitely congestion. And you're going into the top of congestion there. So we start moving down. First entry, failed second entry long here. It's aggressive only because it's not at the top of the trend line, but it does get you a scalp. So here, this is tough. You get a first entry, it breaks higher. So technically, this is the second entry. But if you're just looking right now at the chart after the day is over, it looks like a first, second entry here at the top of the trend line off of the measured move. So, and we're in a downtrend. I like that. I like that entry. We break that trend, go higher. We do have this trend channel that appears to be valid. You can see it looks like there's a midline there. But we formed this level of resistance here, and that makes a perfect midline right there. So I think when you also we've forming congestion above this measured move of the overnight highs and lows. So I think when you make this lower high, you match that lower high, you might go short there. And then here we match that high again, and it's just too neutral of a signal bar. And then we get this, and I think you can go short here. That's a triple test of that price level. Really, I mean, you could argue it's like a fifth or sixth test, because look, we keep making that strong resistance, and I think you can go short there. And that turns out to be a huge move. 29. So almost 13 points. Then when we bounce at these overnight, excuse me, at these overnight highs, you get a first entry, failed second entry short, and you get a second entry short, but I didn't like that because it was above the EMA, and it just looked like this leg up looked too strong, so I didn't like that. You get this failure, though, and that takes a minute, but that takes off. It's also off the midline. And I made my target. I took this on practice, in my practice account. I made my target right there, and you could see a little bit of a correction right there. So those measured moves are really helpful. And then you get a first, second entry long off this trend line. Only thing is, you probably wouldn't have had your trend line drawn like that. You probably would have had it drawn like this. And you can see, or like this even, you can see that looks like a midline. So this is aggressive, but, you know, yeah, I should probably change that to aggressive. We're going into the highs, and we're going into the high of this channel. So anyway, we got to overshoot at that channel, and then we form this channel down, and you get a first entry, failed second entry long. I liked how that set up, and I took that. And so you get out of that, and that's what I saw for the day. Let's take a look at these moves. I had a terrible day. I think this is my practice. Oh, okay, I see what. I took one in the overnight. Probably not a good idea because we didn't have enough context, but you wouldn't have had your channel drawn like that at that point. You would have had it drawn like that. So this looked like, to me, a first failed second entry, and indeed it was. But that's aggressive. You don't have enough context. I shouldn't be taking that. And here, this is just, I went short here because I got excited by this signal bar, and I entered on a limit order. That's just very, look at how congested that is. I don't like that at all. Terrible. And then here, I just was too excited and entered too early. You know that prices are trending up. We just had a bounce off that trend line. So you get a first entry. If it ticks above that, yeah, it's a second entry. But look how far from the EMA that is. Look how far from the trend line that is. We just had some congestion. So this is like a neutral bar. It's not even a good signal bar. And it's a doji. It's a fairly bullish doji, but it's still a doji. So you want a signal bar like this. That is not a doji. That is a very strong signal bar. So yeah, I understand why that failed. And then here, I went long on above this bar. Look how far from the EMA that is. We didn't make a new low. This is clearly congestion. Doji, 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 doji. That's just reckless. And so, yeah, that's just no good. I know why that didn't work. Here, this is a good trade. This is a good trade. Sometimes that might trick you, but this is off the trend line. I like that. I like that, and it got good enough to get you a scalp. So, looks like we might get a second entry short set up. You might go short here. So that's what I saw for today. let's see if this might work. But I want to end this video so I can get it uploaded. So I hope everyone had a good day. I'll be back tomorrow.